Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us and being here with us today on this very special day for Leonard and his 80th birthday. My name is Opium Sabah. I'm an activist, hip hop artist, and producer from the San Francisco Bay Area. I am also part of the Leonard Peltier Official Ad Hoc Committee and the co-chair of Oakland Jericho. We're very honored and pleased to have you all here with us today. And we definitely have a full agenda of speakers and info regarding Leonard. So I guess let's just jump right into it. And please welcome, and it's always an honor and a blessing to have the one and only Mr. Lenny Foster here with us today, and as usual for the ad hoc committee. And yeah, if you're ready, Lenny, why don't you bring us in with a prayer? You're muted, Lenny.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's my privilege and honor to open this meeting with a prayer in my Dene language, so you can bear with me. Grobe jandale, hashonda shatha, dien long, dien yut dien jopai, dien hazoni. Ha shada na ho consis na jini totzito kosli, the benza jitli no slini bicado. Twadas long de control, ben hit zilo, ben hit sketole, ben jonon sikis. Yenata beat and he nabiat and hit sats and beat a yataskit, Jonah a chirian. Taratine ben jonon hanat kindole, decoy Leonard Peltier, but set us and no, but set us and yet ba in la bendi hoana dasto list. A decon the kayao. Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa and Long Joe A good out they call it Yando Cato de good out behind Lado le Shathat in Long Bendy Juana Dasto le A good out. Con Hinane Coedi citizen a good out by Islado le by Iliado le Ado Anils for the con. The Hejado le be Yanit Eto Ben Hitzilo Ben Hitzketo a good out come. Jo Patlanson de Conjat citizen. Ha shada na ho consa. Could be his on a sling, be his on a sling, be his on a sling, be his on a sling. Who, Matokiasi armor relations.
Walking beauty.
Oh.
Thank you, Lenny.
Yes.
Now I believe that Isaac is going to do a land acknowledgement.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Isaac Jasper. I'm from the Indigenous Nightmare Network. I'm a grassroots independent journalist. I want to give a land acknowledgement specifically to where I am, Nuwu Territory, Southern Paiute. I also want to give a land acknowledgement to where everybody is at. Everybody is standing on stolen land. And so I just have to throw that out there. We have to acknowledge that this land, the people that come from it are still alive, which is why we're here today. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that Indigenous people, self-determination and sovereignty still lives. And that is through land acknowledgement. That is acknowledging that this land was stolen, and any type of understandings and intellect that come with trying to reverse that starts with Indigenous intellect. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Isaac. And SIBILLA DRISALDI is here with some crucial information on initiatives that will be moving forward. SIBILLA, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people what you would like them to know about you? You're muted.
She's moving.
If you go to the lower left-hand corner of your screen and click on the microphone, you'll unmute.
Am I muted?
Hello, Sibilla. You're muted, Sibilla. Can you unmute?
Hello, are you talking to me?
No, we're talking to Sibilla.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
You
I
should
was-
be able
I
to
was
unmute
muted,
her as
but I'm-
well,
I
Dawn.
can ask her to unmute, but I can't unmute her.
Okay.
I can make her a co-host. Maybe that will unmute her.
Okay.
There you go,
Yes.
Sibilla.
Yeah.
There you are.
Now it should go. Is it okay now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good evening and blessing to all. Thanks for inviting me. I wanted to listen more than speaking, but thanks. I will tell you a few things. Thanks again. Okay, I might call myself a long time supporter for Leonard Peltier in Europe, in Italy. I live in Italy, Rome. I'm also an activist for human rights, socialist activist and an artist. We recently started a new group of support group for Leonard in Rome, my town, as I said. But many of us are, as me, are long-time supporter. I will just tell that all started in the 90s in my countries, as in my country as in other countries of Europe, when we had the so-called Columbus celebrations in 1992. And that was the time when a tour was organized to Europe, and the tour was in cities in Italy. UHURU, beloved friend of Leonard, as far as I know, an attorney, a great attorney, was part of the tour, was in the tour. And I met him, and I met Frank River, Leonard Defense Committee Canada. These two very good people did a good work. That was the time when we got in Rome, the city of the Vatican, an opportunity to have a great recognition for Leonard Peltier, which is a recognition symbolically important, an award of being a citizen of Rome. Leonard Peltier has the honorable citizenship of Rome, Italy. He's a citizen in our country, which is not exactly a legal status of being Italian, but it is an important fundamental recognition of the city, which is called sometimes the capital of the world. So I started from that, just to tell that there have been a lot of support. There has been a lot of support, incredible support in my country. After that, me as an artist with many music bands, the following.
Sibilla, you dropped off. Are you still there, my friend?
I know Sibilla has been having connectivity issues, and hopefully she can hear us and get back on and connect. But what I want to say in the interim is that Sibilla is a strong partner of the ad hoc committee and of course of Leonard for many years. I see she's dropped off. I hope she can get back on. I know she's been having trouble all day. But nonetheless, what is being announced today is work with the European Parliament that will take up Leonard's case and cause on the international level. And so we are grateful to Sibilla for her quiet, humble work that she has done. I hope she can talk about it more. There will be a delegation to go. I know Leonard is excited about this work and also using this particular model as we go on in time to help other political prisoners, because I know that's how he sees his case, not only to help himself for his own freedom, but also to help others. So I hope Sibilla is able to get back on, but nonetheless, we wanted to share with you today the great news that this fall we'll be going to the European Parliament. And hopefully some of us will be over there in Brussels. And we hope you follow along with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sibilla. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Chairwoman Charlene Mijma and the Muwekma tribe. They are riding from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. on the Trail of Truth and flying Leonard Peltier's flag. I would like to do a screen share for just 1 second. This was Leonard's flag being carried across the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And I also wanted to say, this is the first time that I can remember we have not been able to release a statement on Leonard's birthday because he has been in lockdown for 6 days now. And what that means is 2 men are in an 8x10 cell with no cleaning supplies, with waterborne pathogens and bad food. They're both sick all the time. There's not enough room for him to stretch his arms all the way out. He has lost so much swim strength from the lockdowns that he can't lift his arms all the way up, but if he could, he would not be able to. And he has not been able to approve the final edits, and we will not disrespect him by putting something out there that he's not rock solid on. But this is something that we should all be furious about. We are allowing our people, federal penitentiaries are holding pens for civil rights activists, period. That is how they silence us, by killing us or incarcerating us or both. And with Leonard, they have sentenced him to death by incarceration, and they're trying to carry that out. I do not understand why people are not out in the streets screaming. We were talking before the meeting about there are laws now where you can go in and rescue factory animals from being tortured, and that's a good thing. I'm an animal welfare advocate. But there are no laws that protect human beings from being tortured by our own government. They're doing this behind closed doors. They're getting away with it. And I will now introduce, I'm Leonard's assistant, and one of the privileges that I have is getting to, Leonard keeps himself well educated. He has 4 magazine subscriptions and 2 newspaper subscriptions, and he goes through all of them every day. And he read an article about his friend Rose STYRON putting a book out, and he had me send her a letter. And if I had read Rose's book, Beyond This Harbor, before I actually met her, I would have girded my loins. This woman has done some things. She co-founded Amnesty International USA. And as I said, her memoir is out, Beyond This Harbor. It's worth reading. it is just truly an honor it's being an honor getting to know you, Rose. You are just a delight to talk to. Every time I talk to you, I laugh. And I know that you are one of the few people that care about Leonard the human being, not the famous political prisoner. So if you would like to say a few words about your relationship with Leonard, maybe how you got to know him, or whatever you want to talk about, we would love to hear from you.
I'm very flattered that you asked me to come. And Dawn, I am such a fan of yours, and I am so happy to see you in person, knowing all that you've been doing for Leonard and humanity for ages. I mean, I started out as a poet and journalist, and then found human rights to be my true vocation. And I have to say that I cannot believe still that Leonard Peltier, that wonderful, wonderful man whom we are honoring today, is in the position that he's in. I'm still with Amnesty International, even though I don't travel the world for them anymore, or even the country. I'm still involved, and they have taken up, at least now, Leonard's case, and I hope they will do more with it. There's a fund in my name that they've established for prisoners at risk, and maybe something good will come out of that, though I have my doubts given all the information that we have. I've been in touch with Leonard on and off for many decades through my dear, dear friend, Peter Matheson, who took up Leonard's cause from the time he was incarcerated. And he wrote a wonderful book about Leonard that I hope you will all find. And I have just received a copy of it again after 40 years. It's called In the Spirit of Crazy Horse, and it's about Native Americans, which were called only Indians then. The word Native American Native American hadn't even come in to our vocabulary all those years ago. But it's an amazing book with wonderful things about the American Indian reservations, their work, their hopes, their disasters, their being tortured, everything that you can imagine, legal and illegal, that's been placed upon them. But mainly, I'm here to say happy birthday to Leonard. I wish he were on this screen with us. I would love to see him. I don't think at my age I'll be coming out to meet him again. I am much older than he is, but I still think of him a lot, and we are still in contact with this brave, wonderful man. And there's still some hope, maybe through Amnesty, maybe through all of you, that we can get President Biden to pardon Leonard officially before he steps down at the end of his term. We thought that that was all set up with President Bill Clinton, and Peter Matheson had already bought his airline ticket to go out and rejoice with Leonard. But the FBI figured out how not to do that. So he was not pardoned, and he has not been released, even though everyone knows that he's innocent. I won't go into those legal details. You can do that. But there's still hope. And I just wanted to say how much, much, much I am hoping that in the very near future, he will be getting medical treatment and released through all the hard work of Jennifer Jones, Dawn Lawson, and everyone else who's concerned about him. I think that's it, unless you want me to answer a question.
No, thank you so much, Rose. You just, as I said, you are just an absolute delight, and it's
Well, I'm
to have
obviously
some.
not much help in this case.
You've been extremely helpful. You've been extremely helpful, and you keep Leonard's hopes up. He likes it when he hears from you. So thank
Well,
you for that.
Please give Leonard a big kiss from me when you see him.
I will put that in the mail to him.
Okay.
To this webinar.
Thank you for
Thank you,
including
Rose.
this.
And now we have someone else that really needs no introduction. Julia Wright. I have the honor of calling her Mama Julia. This woman, she's on the right side of history. You know, that's all I can say is she knows how to tell her truth. Not only tell it, but make other people hear it. We need more of that. Julia, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you. I'm very intimidated today. I said that. I might stammer a bit, okay, because I'm in the presence of Rose STYRON. Having said that, I strongly believe that we can send vibes to Leonard today because we are gathered here. And I wrote a few lines to send those vibes to him. They don't rhyme because I have no time to find rhymes. We're on death by incarceration time. So no rhymes, no niceties, just a few vibes. Leonard, your strawberry cake is very big as all the birthday candles lit for you throughout the world. Che Guevara told us, this is the hour of the furnaces, but we only see the light. Today, Leonard, the light coming from so many of your birthday candles will point to the power of the people's truth. You must go free. You may be caged, Leonard, but the longer the empire cages you, the longer they are self-caging themselves. I come from a culture of poverty and hunger on both sides, and when we were kids, my mother would carefully tuck away the half-spent candles of our birthday cakes for next year, she would say. Let me use my mother's candle-saving metaphor for you, Leonard, today. Let me bring out of our abolitionist past the old birthday candles of 3 decades ago, when your press release offering your network to Mumia, we joined hands in the streets joyfully. That wasn't Paris. I remember as if it were yesterday, that very first wintry Wednesday in 1995, when we gathered under the rain at the Place de la Concorde. We were too young to care about umbrellas. Folded posters protected our dripping hair. The passers-by passed by oblivious, but we knew that day that we had created an event whose long, luminous shadow would be projected far ahead in time, a grassroots bond between the campaigns of all political prisoners. Over 30 years later, our hair has grown white, and the Wednesdays still happen, and the groundswell of grassroots solidarity for the two prisoners, Mumia and Leonard, still sentenced to death, a death by incarceration, has not died. In Berlin, as I speak, thousands are crying out your warrior's name. In Paris, at the biggest people's festival, attended by the same hundreds of thousands who recently defeated the far right, your ordeal through death by incarceration is exposed for the torture it is. For the first time ever, in the French port of Nantes, the historical focal point of the French slave trade, the very joint names of Mumia and Leonard Peltier was an open sesame, and your birthday celebrations in that city will last a whole month, Leonard. Here, near the resistant Amazon forest, in so-called French Guyana, your indigenous peoples are poised. In Elaine, Arkansas, where the phosphorus for Gaza is made, the children of the descendants of the 1919 massacre are learning today about the warrior you are. Your birthday cake map is so big we cannot connect the light dots of all the candles burning. As a Pan-Africanist, Kwame Nkrumah died saying Africa would only be free if it united. We say our political prisoners today will only be free if they unite as one voice for freedom. We will be pan-abolitionists. We will free you because we love you, Leonard. Your captors do not know how to love. Your captors behind their high-tech shields are afraid. Your captors live captive of their own lie. May your next birthday be uncaged.
Julia, that was stunning. Thank you. And I have been so busy trying to enable the chat, I completely forgot your biography and Rose's biography. So this going completely backwards, but Rose STYRON is a poet, journalist, human rights activist. She's been involved with Amnesty International since the inception of American Amnesty International. She's actually the co-founder of Amnesty International USA. Julia Wright is the eldest daughter of African-American novelist Richard Wright. She is a descendant of the survivors of the 1919 Elaine massacre through her lynched uncle, Cyrus Hoskins. A Pan-Africanist, she served under Kwame Nkrumah until the coup d'etat in 1966, which kicked her into the Black Panther Party. In Paris, France, she was a co-founder in 1995 of the Wednesday rallies for Mumia Abu-Jamal and Leonard Peltier, rallies that 30 years later are still ongoing, as the one that is ongoing right now. And Opium, I am turning it back over to you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everyone, once again for being here. Thank you, Julia. That was very beautiful. and touching, and definitely agree with you and really resonated with me about, you know, sending positive energy and good vibes to Leonard on his 80th trip around the sun, and on the journey and the fight that he and we all have in front of us in support of him. So without further ado, I would like to welcome back Mr. Lenny Foster, who I should have mentioned earlier. He is Leonard Peltier and the ad hoc committee's spiritual advisor. He also has, he's been a longtime friend of Leonard's. They have a relationship that goes back many, many years. And I think he's going to talk a little bit now kind of about his and Leonard's connection and the history of their relationship as being friends. So the mic is yours, Lenny.
Thank you. Yeah. I just would add a few words to what's being said. My friendship with Leonard Peltier goes back. We first met in Denver, Colorado, 1970, and we became acquainted through the American Indian movement. And I was a college student at that time when I met him in Colorado State University, and he was traveling through Denver on his way back to North Dakota. And he asked me, we ran into each other on Colfax Avenue, and he asked me where the AIM office was. I told him it's right up the street here, about a block away. We have an office up on the second floor. So we just started talking. He asked me where I was from. I told him I was Dene, Navajo from Arizona. He says, what are you doing up here? I said, I'm a college student. And, you know, I remember he found that to be humorous. I guess some people didn't take being in college serious, but at that time I was a student athlete. I played college baseball, and that was before I joined American Indian Movement, Denver chapter under Vernon Belcourt. And I did that in the fall of 1970, and continued to run into Leonard Peltier off and on through the years. And we connected, became friends, and I sundanced with him in 1975 at Rosebud, South Dakota, Crow Dog's Paradise. And if you know anything about the Sundance, it's probably one of the most spiritual, ceremonial ways of the Lakota people. And we Sundance together at the Crow Dog's Paradise under Leonard Crow Dog. And that at that time, Crow Dog was the spiritual advisor for the American Indian Movement. And we had leaders such as Russell Means and Dennis Banks, Clyde Belcourt, Vernon Belcourt, and Leonard Peltier, myself, and others were the warriors on the front line. And I participated in campaigns such as Alcatraz Island, the occupation in 1970, the Bureau of Indian Affairs takeover in 1972, and the 71-day occupation and siege at Wounded Knee in 1973. So we have an extensive history of fighting for treaty rights, human rights of indigenous people, American Indian, Native Americans, however you want to call us. We call ourselves the people. And this has been our calling to be warriors standing up for sovereignty. And I like the fact that people are going back to the acknowledgement of whose lands this is. North America, Western Hemisphere is indigenous people's land. And I myself come from the Southwest of Arizona, near the Four Corners where Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah connect. And I grew up in a sheep camp. And I still speak the language and practice the culture. And I met Leonard Peltier in the early years of the movement. And when he became incarcerated, first it was Marion, Illinois, Long Pop, and then he ended up in Leavenworth, USP Leavenworth. And he sent word out, he wanted me to come in to Leavenworth and conduct the sweat lodge ceremonies, the pipe ceremonies with him and for him and the other Native prisoners. So I responded and I did that. And then for the next 35 years, I've been visiting him since 1985. And we do sweat lodge ceremonies, pipe ceremonies, talking circles, smudging ceremony. We pray together. And I know Leonard to be a very spiritual person. He believes in the ways, he believes in the culture, the language, the ceremonial practices, the cleansing and purification ceremony. He's a very well-read, a very reverent person. Somebody mentioned that he reads a lot. That's how I know him. He keeps up with current events, and we sit and talk. When I visit him, we sit out by the sweat lodge area. It's a grassy area, and we would sit out by the sweat lodge and talk. And the chaplain, who was a white man, a prison official, would have come out there and he would observe us talking. And I'm sure he always wondered, what are these two young Indian men talking about? And he was curious. But I never forgot the chaplain. He might be a man of the cloth, but he's still a cop. He's still a prison official. And he's on the side that stole this land and then broke the treaties. Never forgot that. And that's why one of the reasons Leonard Peltier is in prison, defending those ways of life, defending that treaties that were signed by our ancestors. And we never forgot that. And there's more people in prison in the United States than anywhere else in the world. We should never forget that. The United States incarcerates more of its people in its prison system. And I never forget when I go into these different prisons, whether it's Leavenworth or Lewisburg or Allenwood or Atlanta or Coleman. It's a very dangerous place. But he's a very respected, very reverent. He's looked upon as a mentor. He's very intelligent and he's very talented. He's a self-taught painter, artist. And some of his art is in the hands of very well-known people, whether they're in government or Hollywood or places like that. So if you ever have an opportunity to purchase one of his paintings, get a hold of Don Lawson in the ad hoc committee. And we continue to honor that gift, the very talented gift he has. And we continue to support his humanity and his sanity. The way that I do it is to visit him and pray with him. He has a very, very beautiful pipe. As I mentioned, we Sundance together. So we've taken our pipes to the Sundance and the Sundance tree and pierced, dragged the skulls. Those are the ceremonial practices of the Plains Indians, and that's perhaps one of the most ancient ceremonial ways of the Plains Indians, the Lakota people. And that's how I know Leonard. And it's very difficult for me to know, received word that his petition for release on parole was denied, but we don't give up. We continue. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and continue to support him in your manner, your ways, whether it's through prayers or through the words. Words are sacred. And the prayers that we make is continue to sustain his sanity. Like I said, the United States prison system is a very dangerous place, and we don't never forget the fact that you got a government agency like the FBI who continue to stop his freedom and being released. You know, when he was sentenced to a life sentence, and he's under the old law. The old law, if you do 7 years, you're eligible for release on parole. He's done that more than 7 times over. So they don't honor their own guidelines or their own laws. That's very difficult for us who know that. And there's some good people working through the ad hoc committee and those that are in attendance today, listening in and supporting. We just thank you for that. And you know, we were young when we met in Denver. I was 22 years old, 1970. And Leonard he's 4 years older than me. So he's 80th birthday, I'm 76, grandfather, and just reminded that I feel like I'm doing time with him, and I'm sure many of you feel that way, that you've supported him through these years. And it's been, to me, it's been one of the toughest cases in the United States history. Hopefully the history books will record that, how that the broken treaties and dishonor towards the indigenous people of this land continues, and it continues in this day and age in 2024. So You know, the Sundance that we did at Rosebud, that was as the years go by, it becomes more significant because many of our leaders are gone. There's only a few leaders are still alive. Russell Means is gone, Dennis Banks is gone, Clyde Belcourt is gone, Vernon Belcourt is gone, Leonard Crodog is gone, Archie Fire is gone, David Chief is gone, and Petro Bisnat, he's gone, Ellen Muscan, Gladys Bisnat, Lou Bean, people like that, they're gone. And I've always thought about how history needs to be recorded, and let the future generations gives future generations an inspiration and gives them hope and courage to continue to pray and live for the elders, live for your relatives, live for Mother Earth, and to continue to honor in that manner. The Sundance continues, the Native American Church continues, the fishing rights struggle continues. It's a struggle, and Leonard Peltier gives us that inspiration to continue that, and that we should live in a manner that would be an inspiration to the next generation. And those are my thoughts and feelings at this time. And it's been my honor to know the people I mentioned, but especially Leonard Peltier. And we need to continue to work. I know the ad hoc committee and other people, concerned people, the five-finger people are working hard to get him released, and we see that will happen. By way of introduction, I'm a Tarrant House clan born from Mountain Cove, and my maternal grandparents are River Edge, and my paternal grandparents are nomads. Kia ani ein slon test ani basishin tobai dasche and ani dasanal e with ana be khon slon teho yedo e do yisna sha e di ko na be khon slinigi be ben kitwishna aro di kon Leonard Peltier and Leonard Bells has seen e with Andy Anhando Dast Nietsen ado but Setilsen ado she would Diego adopt and Hidini dole. So I just want to say that much. Elijah and Don, Jennifer, and thank you for your hard work as we continue. Maybe we're small in number, but we're mighty in our efforts, our deeds, and our medicine is strong. We should continue to do that. And I'm honored and proud to be part of your circle and your group. That's all I want to say at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lenny Foster, and we are honored to have you as our spiritual advisor along as Leonard's. Before we get to our keynote speaker, Leonard's trial was a trial of the 20th century. The trial of the UHURU 3 is the trial of the 21st century. And they are, I'm sorry, overwhelmed right now, but they took the time to actually be here. Would Penny and Hands Off UHURU, would you like to say anything? Or are you just talked out and want to listen? It is up to you. I think they're probably overwhelmed and doing other things right now. Okay, our keynote speaker, Nick Cruz. He identifies as a citizen, journalist, organizer, and founder of Revolutionary Blackout. Short and to the point. Nick, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and to begin, I must say that I'm honored to be in your guys' presence and just to be here for Leonard Peltier's birthday. I am on a mission where I stand in solidarity. It's something I push extremely hard solidarity with indigenous peoples, with anyone who is a victim of this empire. It's something that's extremely important. The message that your enemy is my enemy, your pain is my pain, your liberation is my liberation. As Don said, and I appreciate the introduction. My name is Nick with Revolutionary Blackout Network. I'm an activist. I'm still a young buck, my friends. We named ourselves Fred Hampton Leftists. I believe that especially young Black men in this day where our community has been infested with neoliberalism, what drifted to the right, ventured away from the revolutionary spirit of people like Fred Hampton, Kwame Ture, MLK, Malcolm X. And what we wanted to do at Revolutionary Blackout, we wanted to revive that spirit of what it means to be a Fred Hampton leftist, someone who walks in the footsteps of Fred Hampton instead of Jim Clyburn, someone who embraces MLK instead of Barack Obama. And that was my goal. That was our goal because there is also the giant void in what people would call left independent media, where many people you see who call themselves independent in the media, they essentially was competing to get a contract with MSNBC. It's something that I talk to my indigenous brothers and sisters. It's very prevalent among young Black revolutionaries as well. This feeling of frustration with the not only just the corporate media, because that's obvious, but with even the independent media, where they wouldn't touch sensitive issues to the empire. That's why you're not seeing none of the big independent media channels touch the UHURU trial, even though I've been covering this aggressively since the beginning. Ever since my time as a citizen journalist, once again, only about 4 years, I have stood in strong solidarity with political prisoners, covering the Pillington Two, Mumia, covering the people who the state find inconvenient, something that is a very consistent theme of what I cover and what I talk about, and I want people to understand. In this imperialist state, our rights are only temporary. If you are a quote unquote, I would say bad, but quote unquote good citizen who don't question the fascistic tendencies of the empire, for example, if you don't show solidarity with Leonard Peltier, if you are silent in complicity with what the Biden administration, our government is doing with the UHURU, you will have a great, fabulous, comfortable life in this country if you're willing to sell out. You had Colin Powell, who openly admit this. He was one of many Negro sellouts who openly said that there's no racism in this country because if you want to succeed, if you're Black, all you have to do is become a cop or join the military. So it's very open that you can live a comfortable life if you serve the agents of destruction and death and sell out your people. But if you want to challenge the establishment in any real legitimate way, you won't grow up to become a congressman like Jim Clyburn, like uh like many of these Black congressional sellouts, which is what I've seen these political prisoners like Leonard Peltier. These are the kind of things that radicalize me when I see the gross injustice. Is anyone in the Black Congressional Caucus discussing this? is Joanne Reed or any of these black faces that they throw on TV, are they shining a light on these issues? No, they're not, because in order to survive in this extremely fascist state, you must join the agents of oppression. And that's something that we refuse to do. And we want to reject what I call an era of Black neoliberalism. I'm honored to be among Julia right here, because I'm a big advocate of Pan-Africanism as well. We have to unite against the structures of oppression against our people. And I mean it when I say it, every ounce of my fiber of my being. Your enemy is my enemy. There's no time for oppression Olympics and comparing who have it worse and who have it better. We have the same enemies, and the same people that go after the UHURU 3, the same people that went after the Pendleton 2, the same people that went after Leonard Peltier would quickly go after any one of us if we ever stepped in line. So not only do we have a moral and intellectual calling to stand up for political prisoners, it's even in our own self-interest. Solidarity is in our own self-interest. Community is in our self-interest. In our society, and our ruling class knows this. That's why they push harsh individualism. They want people to be divided, and that's why Americans are reported to be more depressed, to be more lonelier than they ever been before. Something else that we wanted to shatter by creating a true sense of community among the working class and the people that are resisting tyranny. And whenever you resist tyranny, you will see, just like Leonard Peltier, you will see our establishment bare their fangs at them. We live right now in a police state that is designed to protect the ruling class. The Democratic Party is teaming with the Republicans, there is no lesser evil, in order to build cop cities. They voted, including progressive members of Congress, quote unquote, to give more money to the Capitol Police on the eve of January 6th. Do you guys know what they used that extra funding for? They used the extra funding. This was immediately after they got the increase in funding for the Capitol Police to crack the skulls and brutalize indigenous activists who was protesting Line 3. That was the first action they did with the expansion of the police state. And that's why I co-founded 10 Demands, because the police state that we're living in is a tool of oppression that is meant to create even more Leonard Peltiers, anyone who is a threat to the empire. And regarding UHURU, I am glad to hear that they avoided the worst charges today. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm still going through the updates. As far as I know, there was originally planned to get 15 years. They dropped that, but now they're being charged with conspiracy. And once again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going through this today as well, with a maximum of 5 years. But it's good that we avoided the big charge, but it's still a very chilling statement that they will charge the UHURU movement with conspiracy because they are critical of the Biden administration foreign policy. They labeled the UHURU 3 and the UHURU movements agents of the Russian government. Why? I followed Chairman Amali and his organization for a long time. I would not call them people doing the direction of Russia. They are free-speaking Black Americans and our allies in the UHURU movement that calling for international coexistence. Their message, and I'm very familiar with Chairman Amali, has never been explicitly pro-Russia. That's empire propaganda. Their message has always been for international coexistence, for the fact that Russia and Russians aren't our enemies. How many Russian flags have been planted in Africa? What, did the slave trade go through Russia, for example? No, it did not. We don't have any reason to hate Russia. We have the same overall enemy. And not just with Russia, but with everyone across the world. We should be calling for international coexistence, which is the enemy of the ruling class. So by daring to call for peace with our Russian brothers and sisters, for advocating for resistance against the NATO proxy war, and their chairman of Mali, honored to be even in their presence. I got a lot of respect for your work, brother. And that's what I've been covering very intensively, uh, the Biden administration prosecution of your group, because of the threat that the REPRESSION serves, and not just people posting on the internet, not people just talking. It's people who actually engage in true revolutionary action, which is, as I said before, why they are bearing the fangs of the establishment. And that's why I'm great, and I'm very humbled and honored, and it warms my heart to see this coalition, because on Revolutionary Blackout Network, I have been calling for an international anti-imperialist coalition against the imperialist structure. And I'm seeing here amazing indigenous activists I am blessed to be in community with, locking arms with myself, that coming from a Black radical tradition, my brother Chairman Amali coming from a Black radical tradition. And this scares the ruling class the most. The Black Panthers had international solidarity with Palestinians, who had international solidarity with South Africans. There's a Pan-African movement that is booming in Africa right now under the guise of us uniting and destroying the empire. So as I said before, your enemy is my enemy. Your liberation is my liberation. And I am seeing this new trend of this true solidarity. And solidarity is not the same as unity. I despise unity. Unity is a tool of the oppressors, where they tell you to fall in line without any demands, without any care for what's best for you. This is what the establishment wants. They say you need to unify behind Kamala Harris. You need to unify behind a politician. You need to unify behind an organization. There is no unity. We need solidarity, where we stand for each other and for each other's liberation. Unity is toxic. We need solidarity, and that's why I call for. Last thing I'm gonna say, and I want to pass it back. And once again, just an honor to be speaking among you guys. I just wanted to share some things on top of my head. Um, and I want to say this because Lenny mentioned this earlier, how our ruling class have no regard for even the laws that they write down on their books. In fact, we are seeing a full-fledged rebellion against international law by our ruling class. We have the rules that they wrote that is biting them in the ass. We have a genocidal psychosis that is sweeping the entirety of the West. And this is in reference to the genocide in Gaza as well, where Benjamin Netanyahu and their government has been caught, used by the ICC as being war criminals, as enabling genocide. Now, think about what happened here. You had South Africa, a country that was victims of brutal apartheid, that was supported by Israel, the Zionist entity known as Israel. So when you look at the lawyers and the judges that pushed for Israel to be held accountable, these are the same children. These are the same teenagers that was victims of brutal apartheid regime in South Africa that was supported by the United States and Israel. So what did they do? They grew up. They learned the law. They learned the rules that the oligarchy wrote. Not that they wrote, but the rules of the colonizers, which is the ICC, the ICJ. They learned the law, they mastered the law, and they got a prosecution from the Zionist entity of Israel. They got them plausibly committing a genocide. And you want to know the response of the United States? The official position of the Biden administration, who we are told is the lesser of two evil, their position is to condemn the ICC, to attack and threaten the ICJ. You had the ICC lead prosecutor that said he was openly threatened by United States and Western officials. So what Lenny said couldn't be more on point. We have a ruling class that is full rebellion against international law. So never, ever let the ruling class gaslight us that we're the criminals, that we're the terrorist sympathizers. Our ruling class is in full rebellion against the laws that they themselves wrote. And that's why I think it's very important to stand in solidarity and create this international coalition to resist the genocidal empire that will easily kill Leonard Peltier just to prove a point, that will lock up Chairman O'Malley just to silence any ounce of dissent. So once again, I know I'm a very rambly, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I stand in solidarity with not just Leonard Peltier, but all indigenous people, anyone who's a victim of this empire. And I'm with you guys in this fight. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Don, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Nick, you brought back my faith in the movement. Thank you. I needed to hear everything you had to say. And the UHURU 3 is with us tonight. Would you like to speak, or are you all spoken out?
I would be
We are
honored to
so
speak,
honored.
and I'm so honored to be here. First of all, I just want to express my and the position of the UHURU movement, the African People's Solidarity Committee, and African People's Socialist Party, unconditional solidarity with the right of Leonard Peltier to be free, and with indigenous people to the right of their land. And we are in the middle of this frame up court case that is a serious attack, as Mr. Nick Durst was just summing up, on the right of African people and ultimately all people to dissent, to protest, to speak anti-colonial free speech. And I would like to, Chairman, I would like to see if you would like to start. I also want to salute Jennifer and you, Dawn, and Lenny Foster, and Julia Wright, and just really an honor to be here tonight and to be among you. UHURU.
UHURU, comrades.
UHURU.
First of all, I want to offer a self-criticism to Comrade Leonard Peltier, because I think that as an anti-colonialist, as somebody who is engaged in the struggle for the total liberation of all the colonized peoples of the world and to destroy colonial mode of production, that I have a responsibility, deep and profound responsibility to have built a movement that would be much more capable than we are as the African People's Socialist Party, and building and winning the freedom of Leonard Peltier. I think that I want to be self-critical for not being able to do more than what we've done up to now. And I say we in this instance, I'm talking about the African People's Socialist Party and the UHURU movement, to free Leonard Peltier. Having said that, I also want to make it clear that we are an organization about taking power over the lives of our lives as Africans, that we do not concede the right to the colonizer, to colonialism at all. We're able to unite unconditionally with the indigenous peoples, with the Lakota, with the Diné, with the Hopi, with all of the indigenous people. We unite unambiguously. We offended ourselves that there would be a government that today in 2024 that would still act like it has the right to lock up and keep people like Leonard in prison. We refuse to allow anybody to separate the imprisonment of Leonard Peltier to the settler colonialism that has killed and maimed and humiliates the indigenous people on this land. That this idea of Leonard Peltier being in prison and being put in this incredible place of having to prove he's not guilty of breaking the laws of the settlers who have established an empire on their land. It is an obscenity. And that's how we experience that. It is an obscenity. And there's no legitimacy at all to that. The fact is that under a colonial mode of production, it is the colonizer, not the colonized, who make the law. and the colonizers will make law to protect the relationship they have with those of us who are colonized. You've never heard of a colonizer making a law to free the colonized. You never heard of a slave master making a law that would free those that have been enslaved. So we're clear on that point. And the other thing I think is really important, a point that we want to make, is that we were arrested and in a very violent fashion on July 22nd, July 29th, 2022, a very violent arrest. I should say attack, assault, and we were charged something like 9 months later. They charged us, and they charged us with being Russian agents, and they charged us with conspiracy. And this is, you know, in line with George Orwell's 1984 when he said, "Those who control the past, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." They would deny that African people have any agency, that there's a relationship that we have to this country before 2014 or 2015, when they claimed that we entered into some kind of relationship with Russians, which is it's an obscenity. It should be offensive to any human being on the planet Earth that somehow these people who came here stole this land from the indigenous people, got them locked up in concentration camps that they refer to as Indian reservations, stole African people, brought us here. It's not like they tell this lie all the time that America is a nation of immigrants. We say America is not a nation. It's a prison of nations. And that we are not immigrants. We came here as captives. We did not come in looking for a better way of life. We lost a better way of life as a consequence of having been introduced to America. I think that from our perspective, that is really to say that, important to say that, to stand up with Leonard in the deepest way. I was on Big Mountain. I was at Big Mountain in Arizona when the United States government had discovered some uranium there, and they wanted to find a way to come take that uranium and to push the DNA off the land there. And the people were trying to make a stand against that. I was there. And we've had a long-standing relationship with indigenous people that's very deep, very profound. We've always been with the Palestinians. In fact, I'm offended sometimes because there have been, you know, like leftists, North American leftists, who, when in 1967, when the so-called Six-Day War happened, it was Africans who stood with the Palestinians. Before Malcolm had gone to Palestine in 1964, he was in Gaza. Our movement stood firmly with the Palestinian people. And then now we find ourselves in a situation where groups of people who discovered the Palestinian issue after the Palestinians have made such tremendous sacrifices for all humanity in the struggle against colonialism. They discovered the Palestinian question, but then they played the Palestinian issue against the African issue, that somehow they create an image of a false contention between Palestinians and Africans. It's garbage. And they have their own reason for not supporting Black power, Black liberation, et cetera. They should say that and not try to use the Palestinian issue as the means of trying to make that argument. So we believe in the struggle against colonialism. We believe that there's a colonial mode of production. We believe that capitalism grew out of this colonial contradiction. That first time in human history that there was a world economy, it came about as a consequence of what Portugal started 600 and some odd years ago, in 1415, when it attacked Africa, initiated this process of selling Black people all around the world, and what came to be known as Europe emerged as a part of that process. And we believe that it wasn't necessary for us to get an invitation when we saw the people in Nicaragua engage in this struggle. We didn't have to get an invitation. We knew that was our struggle, and we moved right away on it without even knowing a single Nicaraguan. We pulled them together in the Bay Area of California. We were in Ireland. We walked in Belfast, Ireland, when it was under colonial domination based on that, and won support from the Irish people also for the struggle of African liberation. And we had the Irish Republican Socialist Party have a national press conference and saying that they stood firmly with African people in the struggle to force the United States to ratify the Genocide Convention that it had never ratified up to that time, and that they didn't want to take any money from Irish in America if they did not unite in solidarity with us. That's the work we've been doing. Our objective is to take total, absolute freedom of our people. We are jealous of any entity attempting to control the future of Black people. And that's why it's so nonsensical that somehow we would sell ourselves to Russians. We are jealous of any attempt by anybody to do that for us. So we were convicted. The United States government intended to put us in prison. There's a political crime. This thing they charged us with is a political crime. It relates to a struggle they've been making with the Soviet Union since 1915 or with the communist world. They created this political crime, and then they charged us. And the objective was to put us in prison for being Russian agents. We had a very smart jury. We had a very incredible legal force. And that the jury rejected this idea that somehow, and they saw all the stuff, they saw videos, I testified without being cross-examined because as evidence, they saw videos, they actually saw minutes from our meetings, they saw documents that we had written for tactics and strategy for liberation and what have you, and all of this happened, and the jury rejected the lie by the United States government that we were Russian agents. And having rejected that lie, despite the fact that it was confusing for the jury beyond that point, what that statement was that we were not working for Russians, we were working for Black people. We were working against colonialism. That's what that jury said. And they rejected it. And so that's not what you're seeing now in the media. The media is using the Department of Justice press release about we were found guilty for conspiracy. But what was the conspiracy for? The conspiracy was working for the Russians. But the jury said we weren't working for the Russians. And they said not guilty in terms of working for the Russians, which meant it was an admission that we're working for Black people, we're working against colonialism, and Russians had nothing to do with it. And that's the power. That's what happened. You heard in this meeting, lawyers stand up, and in the opening statement go, UHURU, UHURU, UHURU. This is the lawyer. Said, this is my opening statement. And the closing statement of one of the lawyers was UHURU, UHURU, UHURU. And one of the lawyers said that Omali Ishitela can't be bought by anybody. He's a revolutionary who's been working for Black people. Told the jury that. And then we had the others who were making similar statements. They read all of our documents. The jury took that into the jury room with them and said, these are not Russian agents. And that was the victory. And the victory was that they had to hear UHURU in that courtroom. And the jury accepted that. And they had to look out. All the jury, when they looked out and who was there in that courtroom, they saw people who looked just like them. They saw old people, young people. They saw Latinos. They saw Asians. They saw African people who were staring at them from that. And that had to have an impact as well. They didn't see any damn Russians. They just saw us. And they saw themselves and we stand with Leonard Peltier unconditionally. We have always stood with Leonard Peltier. We've always stood with the indigenous people. And one of the reasons, of course, is that it's blood. If anybody want to look at the history, when we came to this land, the only friends we had as Black people were the indigenous people. We had no other friends. And so the unity there is deep, profound, and we haven't forgotten, and we're not going to let them forget it either. So I just wanted to say that it's a critical victory that we just had. So we're going to be appealing this nonsense about conspiracy, because they can't even say what we're conspiring to do, since the jury said we weren't doing what they said we were doing. And the lie of their press conference was the lie that they told. They had put people on the witness stand. They didn't have a single person on the witness stand. What they put on the witness stand were FBI agents and their experts, and they had an expert who didn't even know how much money he was getting paid. He literally stood there. Here's a professor saying, well, how much money are you getting paid to this? Well, I don't know. I mean, I have to check it out, et cetera, et cetera. They had experts. They had the chief FBI investigator she was asked the question, when you did this investigation, were they involved in any kind of what do they call it? Election interference? No. Did you see anything that indicated that they were working for the Russians? Nope. Did you see that everything they've been doing all this time? They collected something like 13 terabytes. Is that what you say? Of information, the equivalent of more than 2.5 billion books. That's what they took from us. They couldn't come up with, they used 5 emails, they said, out of that bunch over and over again to try to prove their case. The people were able to see through that. This extraordinary jury was able to see through that. And they were able to also to see that we were among people just like them. We were among them in that audience, et cetera. So I just wanted to say that and to express appreciation to all of you, comrades, for the work that we're doing, because we're winning. And there we see a frantic, desperate social system trying to maintain its existence on this planet. And we're going to free Leonard, and I don't plan to go to jail. I don't plan to be in prison, not because I'm going to run. They wanted me to run. That's why they took 9 months before they would even indict. They wanted me to run. They wanted me to do something. I ain't going no damn where. The fact is that Black people have fought too long, too hard for this democratic space, and we're not going to surrender this democratic space to some tyrants who would maintain this oppression of the people in this country and on the planet Earth. We're going to be here. If somebody leaves, it's going to be them. We're going to be standing with Leonard. We're going to be standing with the indigenous people. If somebody leaves, it's going to be them. UHURU. Thank you. Yeah. Happy birthday, Leonard!
UHURU. Jennifer, would you like to introduce our next speaker?
Such an impact on me.
Who is that going to be?
Huh?
Isaac, or would you like me to introduce him?
You.
First, I want to thank the UHURU 3, Chairman O'Malley, Chairperson Penny Hess, for joining us on this historic and most hopeful day, though it is bittersweet, because we are doing this without Leonard in any respect. But I want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for your solidarity. And so glad to see the outcome today. I know it's not over, and we're with you every step of the way. So I wanted next to go ahead and introduce Isaac Jasper. He is an Afro-Indigenous, Ohlone-Rumsen, decolonial Marxist and Pan-Africanist grassroots broadcast journalist. Isaac is the founder of the Indigenous Nightmare Network and a member of Black Power Media Reloaded. Thank you. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I do apologize for the background noise as children are coming home from school, so I do apologize. I want to say thank you to everybody who's in attendance. I see there's a lot of beautiful faces that are sitting down watching us as we speak in solidarity with not just Leonard Peltier, but also with Chairman O'Malley Yeshitela. Today is a very historic day, not just because it's Leonard Peltier's birthday, as I also, as a Pan-Africanist, need to mention and highlight that it is Amilcar Cabral's birthday as well. We also have to highlight again, as we've been talking about within this discussion, hands off UHURU, the fact that we were the 10 years out of the 15 were able to get taken away, and I will be there in solidarity, as I have as a broadcast journalist covering whether that's through Black Power Media or the Indigenous Nightmare Network, the UHURU 3 movement and the trial that's going enacting against them. Again, today is very historic. I was asked to speak on a specific topic on what settlers think they know about our struggles and what we've actually endured, and tie that into Leonard Peltier. And so in order for me to do this, I have to first acknowledge my Indigenous roots. I have to acknowledge that as an Afro-Indigenous individual, I live under what I classify as a triple consciousness, which means that I have to walk this occupation knowing that I am Indigenous to the lands that I walk, but I am also African. I also am a part of the African struggle. And I know that this system that we live under alienates, subjects, oppresses, and distracts an individual like myself from being fine-tuned to understanding what true Afro-Indigenous, what it truly means to be Afro-Indigenous. My people on both sides were subjugated to oppression like no other. On my mother's side, the history can go as far stretched back as the mission system, the Russo-Spanish period, for which we were subjugated to the most atrocious crimes. This system that we live under, America, could be classified as a third occupation. As Indigenous people like myself who come from California, you know, my ancestors were subjugated to Spanish colonialism, to Mexico Rancho colonialism, and now what we classify as American with 3 Ks, imperialism. When we think of what's going on with Leonard Peltier, I go to a quote that Dhruba bin Wahad spoke to, says, which is that, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure as hell rhymes. And so the same thing that's happening to Leonard Peltier is the same thing that has happened to my people, the same thing that has happened to the African people, being subjugated to the most atrocious crimes, being barred, confined, shackled. I know livestock that gets treated far better than Leonard Peltier. That gets treated far better than Mumuya Abu Jamal. That gets treated far better than Imam Jamil Al-Amin. These are all individuals that have sacrificed their life. Leonard Peltier is 80 years old and he spent over 50 years in prison, for which 50 years he's had to not eat the cake that is going to be eaten at the forum, to not be able to speak in truth with his constituents, his comrades. The fact that I can compare and tie this to Hands Off UHURU, the fact that they were targeted in the same way that W.E.B. Du Bois was targeted for simply advocating for Black power, for simply advocating for the rights and self-determination of all people under one goal, under one significant goal, which is liberation for all and the end of imperialism and capitalism. We sit here today not really understanding the true history of these lands and the people that were subjugated to work these lands, that were subjugated to then, as O'Malley Ishitella, chairman, specified, these are not reservations, these are concentration camps. Again, we have lost the sense of vocabulary. We have lost the sense of what true actual history and again, what my people have endured, what all Indigenous people have endured. And so when I think of Leonard Peltier and I think of what happened to my people, again, that's nothing more than a contemporary version of genocide. It's a contemporary version. Death by incarceration is nothing more than a contemporary missionary system. That's all that is. So I say free Leonard Peltier. I say free the UHURU 3. I say free every single individual that is subjugated by Western imperialism, that's subjugated by European imperialism. We will win this fight knowing that all of us here are standing in solidarity. We all have a duty, and that duty is to never stay silent in a matter of which that we know where we should be loud and we should be proud. I'm a proud Afro-Indigenous broadcast journalist, but most importantly, I am proud to be here on Leonard Peltier's birthday. Happy birthday, Leonard Peltier. Happy birthday to Amilcar Cabral, and congratulations to the UHURU 3 movement. We will not persist. We will not run down. We will not step back. We are doing what needs to be done because, again, everybody that's on this screen that has spoke is not down with imperialism. And I'm pretty frank, excuse my French, but we're done with this shit. So UHURU, thank you.
UHURU, Isaac, thank you. Again, you have all given me faith in the movement, which I badly needed. Susie Bear is with us from the People's Forum in New York City. And Susie produced Warrior, the life of Leonard Peltier, which should be mandatory viewing, like in elementary school. Susie, would you like to say a few words?
I'd be happy to say a few words. You're making me follow these amazing speakers. I'm just a documentary filmmaker, activist. I will tell you, I I will tell you about the first time I met Leonard Peltier. I was 24 years old. I had been working on my film, Warrior, The Life of Leonard Peltier, for 2 years. We had spoken, we would talk on the phone. There were no computers, there were no cell phones. This was 1990. And it took a lot of work, but I finally was able to get access to Leavenworth Penitentiary. I brought my film crew. It wasn't easy, but it's a lot harder now. We were told we had 1 hour with Leonard, and the guards let us search all our stuff, but we're not invasive. And we went into a special room downstairs, wood paneling. And I had spent the past 2 years every day trying to figure out how to tell Leonard's story, how to understand Leonard's story. Reading Peter Matheson's book, In the Spirit of Crazy Horse, I was in it. And we set up the camera. We were shooting not video, but 16mm film, which is very different from video. You have a certain amount of time. I had a sound recordist, and we had everything set up. Everyone was excited. And I remember looking up at the top of the stairs, and there was Leonard. And I kept my shit together. And I told the cameraman, oh, turn, go, shoot up there, shoot there, shoot there. And they did. And he walked down the stairs. And I asked my cameraman, did you get that? And he's like, not really. And I said, hello. And we had a hug. That was very quickly, because that's all you're allowed. And I said, Leonard, would you mind doing a take 2? And I walked him up the stairs, and I stayed at the top of the stairs and said, roll camera, like we're making a movie. Okay, action, go. And he walked down the stairs. As he walked down the stairs, there was a guard at the top of the stairs, and he made a comment, a derogatory comment about Leonard. And how fucking dare you? I went down the stairs and I said to Leonard, do you know what that guy just said? He said, don't do anything, don't do anything. I was like, okay, no, I got it, I won't. He sat there and answered every single question, thoughtful, to the point. We ended up staying 3 hours. And I got to give him a hug at the end of the interview. The whole crew got to hug him. It was life-changing. It breaks my heart that over 30 years later, he's still in prison. We're all going to work together, and we are going to get him out, because we have to. We have to. Thank you all for coming. That's my story. I have lots of them, but thank you very much. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Susie. And we have not announced it publicly yet, which is my remiss, but we are honored that Susie Bear has joined Leonard Peltier's ad hoc committee. Next up, we would love to hear from Tracker Gina Marie, Grassroots AIM.
Hello. Yes, this is Gina Marie, Tracker. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to Uncle Leonard Peltier. I have been involved since the 90s, helping with petitions and things that you know about. I want to say thank you to Dawn and thank you to Rose and all the people who have spoken. And I wanted to say that, you know, I remember things about Uncle Leonard Peltier and the history that I am been familiar with, being around late Uncle Dennis Banks, late Uncle Russell Means, late Uncle Belcourt, and also the women of AIM that have moved on. So I just have heard stories over the years growing up, and also working with them, going across the country with Uncle late Dennis Banks, and him telling the stories about Leonard Peltier. Also, I just wanted to bring up the fact that, you know, Leonard Peltier he's a prominent figure associated with the American Indian movement, as we know, but he also changed and contoured and shaped the way the American Indian movement was when he was able to, before he was incarcerated. And they knew that. So as I learned about the CIA and Intel and COINTELPRO and all their alphabets and how they would make sure that the determination and elimination of the strong leaders would be simultaneously be put away, especially when there was a direct action at any point. But AIM was founded in 1968 to address the issues of systemically inequality and injustice faced by the First Nation people. And it was first presented to the people through communities to help to feed and bring safety to communities. And that was in 1968. And then there was the siege of, you know, Wounded Knee. So Uncle Leonard Peltier, you know, he was a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, and he became involved in the 1970s, like Uncle Lenny Foster has said. And so I'd like to just really thank Leonard Peltier for being involved when he was able to standing up and standing in for the people in the communities that he did. And also, you know, 1973 Wounded Knee incident where AIM activists occupied the town of Wounded Knee, as we know. It's not in the history books. We have to create our own history. And that's what we do with Creative Frontline. I'm a First Nation, Chiricahua Nende Western Apache woman. And my great-grandparents were affected by, you know, the 1945 atomic bomb. So they were relocated and dislocated. So, you know, we as First Nation people here have seen in our lifetime the changes that have been taking place to accommodate the needs of people who want to come in here into this country and call it their own. And so we know that the industries have changed the lives of all people now. So I wanted to also say that Peltier was convicted, yes, but he is proven innocent. And so I wanted to say all my whole life I've heard from the uncles and the aunties that one of the biggest things is a psyop that has been taking place. And that psyop is because they have been trying to create an illusion that we are supposed to be able to try to do something secondary rather than primarily. So in other words, here we are, my whole life have been advocacy for Uncle Leonard Peltier. My whole life I have been signing petitions and making statements and going to different events to bring the awareness. And that's only secondary to what we're really supposed to be doing as First Nation people. And so that PSYOP is there is one of the strategies and tactics they use to get to the heart of the people. And that's one thing that we have always said is that to get to the heart of the people, they go through the heart of their home, their security, and their resources. And so I remember when we were doing the occupancy in 2011, this was after one of the longest walks with Uncle Dennis Banks. And we went to Occupy. They asked us to go there to Occupy. And it was the second occupation since from the New York one. And that was Occupy LA. And I remember getting up to the General Assembly and asking the people, we were starting assemblies and asking at the General Assembly if, because I was forming a committee, and we asked them and brought the awareness about reservations as war camps and Uncle Leonard Peltier. And I remember that in 2011, people stood up and said, who is Leonard Peltier? And even then, even from the 90s to 2011, people were not aware. And so the saturation of him is now worldwide, okay? And like Rose and other women today said, those candles that are lit, those hearts that are on fire, you know, for Uncle Leonard Peltier is worldwide. It's a global movement now. And so, you know, I just wanted to say that also, there's things that are happening in the media that aren't revealed, that are good things that are happening, that are being covered. We're with KPFK, Pacifica Radio. We have 13 million listeners, as you know. We have Creative Frontline, and we're going to be moved to the 4 o'clock. And we invite any one of you who would like to do an interview and to share your story. We call them open eagle wing screeches. And that's for you to come forward to, you know, join in the conversation so that you can be part of the front line that way. We believe that everybody is part of the front line, whether or not you're a lawyer, doctor, or you're actually boots on the ground, as we were at Standing Rock, as we are every day. Being a journalist and an advocate for Indigenous people, I just wanted to really, you know, point out that one of the biggest psyops right now that's happening that I see is the direct action of them bringing that water and the resources against our own people. You know, having to be able to secure our own land, water, food, clothing, everything like that, and everything being part of that genocide. And so I really want to encourage everybody too, and I hope Uncle Leonard Peltier can hear this, is that it's really important to really go 10 layers deep. And I'm sure that he does on all the things he's reading and listening to, because there are a lot of direct actions, a lot of people and movements and revolutionaries bringing solidarity to that front line. And that front line is alive, and that red road is wide and long. And I've been on that red road my whole life. My whole life has been being an advocate and on the front line for communities and being the voice for the people, just like each and every person here. And I just want to say that we have been covering Uncle Lenny Foster's memoirs about being at Wounded Knee and Uncle Leonard Peltier. And we're going to continue to do that because, as you know, unless you really look, you won't find very much of the information or the media that's available. And so I wanted to just also sing a song for Uncle Leonard. It's a birthday song, and I hope he hears this, but he will hear this through the universe. This is a song in his language, Lakota, or no, he's Chippewa, but this is a Lakota song. I wanted to sing for him for his birthday. This first song is going to be from Uncle Ken Littlefish, who is Anishinaabe, and this song was taught to myself and others when we were really young. And this is a birthday song. Aho winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Oh winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya na hey ne yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Happy birthday to you, winda hiya nine. Oh winda yo winda hiya nine yo. Aho winda yo winda hiya na hey ne yo. And the second song is in Lakota language. I am a sun dancer. And I've been able to have the opportunity and honor to go and learned from the relatives over there in the Black Hills for many years, 25 years now. This song is a beautiful song that speaks of the medicine and bringing the medicine to you wherever you are, wherever you stand, wherever you breathe, wherever your eyes and whatever you see. Yana, 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 hiya, wana, yana, yana, hene, yana, hiya, wana, yana, hene, yana, 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 hiya, wana, hene, yana, hiya, wana, hene. Yana hea wana yana hena hene oe Bejuta waka ki makia yo wani wachi ye Yana yana yane yana hea wana hene yana hea wana yana hea wana hena hene oe. So I just wanted to say also is that I encourage everybody to really, look around. Right now, we know over the years, myself being a revolutionary and being behind the scenes, now that all the uncles and aunties are gone, we have to be in the front lines. We are on the front lines. And this is very important because some of the things that we have to task are things that we're not used to, or things that we really don't need to, or that we're not comfortable doing. However, there's a lot of things that are happening that people don't realize. And some of the things are that we have discovered is because of media, going around. And myself, I could travel a lot. I just got back from the Black Hills from the Congress, Wilderness 12 Congress, and they passed resolutions there. And people from all over the world came, and there was a lot of elders. And one of the things that we were able to do by the 6th day is, and I want to thank Dawn and Liz and all those from the ad hoc committee. One of the things that we're able to do is bring forward the message to the Congress conference. And that was about Uncle Leonard Peltier. And so I was asking for, an update on either petition or something that we can do to bring that message. And so we did. We brought that message. And some of the good news I wanted to say was for those of the ad hoc especially, is that we were able to do the presentation on the rights of nature for the United Nations with the Zamvimbo from the South America. And they are working on that campaign, which brings rights of nature to humans and how nature doesn't own us and we don't own nature. And that was a really important one. And the advocacy for the prophecies. The prophecies, every nation has a prophecy, and those prophecies, nobody can stop. It's like a train, okay? No two-legged can stop them. And we are living in the prophecies now. The eagle and the condor, the wampum belt, the 13th fire prophecy of the Medean, and also the prophecy of the 7th fire of the wampum belt with grandfather William Commanda, who I have met when I was very young. And so, so as much as, the front line, things that we think that we're losing ground, is that we have to believe and we have to have hope that all the things that we do are going to bring forward that universal law. And that's what we go by. As Indigenous First Nation people, we go by the 13 moons and the 7 laws. We don't go by the Gregorian calendar. And so we say that, we are living in the times that have been changing, and that technology has been changing, and it has been. There's a foot race for the non-natives for those who are in that realm of power, let's say. They advocate, with their resources and being able to have millions and billions of dollars to be able to do that, to try and take the land and try to create a genocide. And to put it simply, is that no one can stop those prophecies, and those prophecies bring human and bring the right to the human as we know it. And it is something that is very important that we have to live by. And, you know, we share our ceremonies, we share our medicine, we share our teachings. However, something that's really important is that we need to understand is that when you're connected to a sacred fire and a community, as all of you are, Nick and Julia, and somewhere your heart is connected to a sacred fire, to the teachings and the discipline that you were brought into, and to the teachings of the two-legged of your people. And when you're connected, there's nothing that can change that. That is where that fire, sacred fire, was lit thousands of years ago. And that fire that was lit thousands of years ago were by our ancestors. And that's how the teachings are conducted. And so the spiritual elders that I learned from, the women and the men, are just as important. And we say that, you know, there's a lot of people that have moved on. Yes, a lot of elders have moved on, but there are spiritual leaders all around us, and there's people on the front line all around us. And I just wanted to say a couple of things about some things that are really important to me. And I wanted to share it. So while I was at the Wilderness 12 in Black Hills a week ago, the Chuckawalla National Monument approved. Okay, we have been working on that. That was approved. The Quezon National Monument was approved. Okay, but they were both to be voted on, and they are being voted on. Last week they were voted on. And the Cigna California Indian Nations Gaming Association chose to fight Cadiz, okay, Incorporated Water Harvesting and Water Marketing Plan. And that was under Schwarzenegger, I believe, and then the protege, Susan Kennedy. Okay, so what I want to share with that connection of media and Susan Kennedy and the things that are happening now is that everything you hear and listen to with alternative radio and people who are doing indigenous media, and to all those who are doing that, there's a lot of people that I have collaborated with. Well, those things that happened last year that we covered in the waters and also the constitutional rights and the First and Fourth Amendments for the people that are they're trying to protect their sacred lands against the lithium gold rush, okay, which is under the guise of the green extraction. Well, that right there, all of those things that are happening that we think is bigger than both of us and bigger than life, it has come to be a year later. And this has happened many times, is that media is power. Okay, our voice is power. And with the media, it just really puts a pressure. The truth will always be revealed. And the truth has put the pressure on Chaldees and Susan Kennedy and the people who are trying to steal the water and trying to get that water from the Colorado River. And that runs all the way, that vein of Earth's grandmother runs all the way down to Mexico. And so because of the media and all the media that everyone does have an impact and effect. And so now, you know, those people are coming forward to the tribal people, to the council, and they're asking, okay, we want to talk now. So I just wanted to say that there's hope and there's so much value in media that we put out and that we can create. And that is just through, you know, energy, okay, and also through collaboration and network. Okay, and so thank you for bringing up solidarity, because, you know, one of the things that I grew up with is hearing about the solidarity of all the revolutionaries, and it's important that we do talk about those things, because we are the voice of the people. Okay, so I just wanted to say Creative Frontline is relaunched, and we're in Pride time, and I encourage all of you to come forward, especially you, Dawn, and Jennifer's, and all the revolutionaries. Come forward and be a voice on the front line, and come, and we would love to hear you and see that you contribute to the conversation. It's so very important that you do, and we're looking forward to it. We wanted to, okay, so I wanted to say one more thing about the Wilderness 12 and some of the resolutions that were passed. And they're not a governance body, but they have no authority over each other's delegates. However, they're encouraged to adopt resolutions into organizations and procedures and core policies. So those resolutions, I want to send you, Dawn, the resolutions that were covered that were passed, and also the Leonard Peltier United Nations declaration. We're going to also work with the Zambimbo, and with that rights of nature, they're going to put together a United Nations declaration for him as well, that I would like the ad hoc committee to prepare, and we can sign that and work with you on that. So I thank you for letting me share. I really appreciate that, Dawn and Nick and all the people. And thank you. I really love to hear from Rose. I'm an advocate of Rose and Julia and the ad hoc committee. So for all of you, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you so much, Jacker. I will definitely be in touch. Water theft is one of my rants. And I know you're doing important work out there, and I will be in communication with you. So thank you. Next, this battle is far from over, folks. The parole denial is not the end. UHURU put the state on trial. We are taking the court to court. And next, we will hear from Jennifer's co-counsel, Moira Meltzer-Cohen. They have been fighting hard for Leonard. They continue to fight hard for Leonard. On October 5th, we will be having a webinar, The Liberation of Leonard Peltier, taking the court to court. But Mo, would you like to speak for a bit?
All right. Hello, New York City. I'm here at the People's Forum in New York. We have a beautiful crowd. I know we've had a couple of former political prisoners here in the audience coming through. Yes, hello, solidarity with Leonard. You know, this is a really bittersweet moment. We're here to celebrate and honor Leonard's fortitude, his strength, his courage, his endurance. At a moment when Leonard himself is locked down, he's suffering from a raft of life-threatening illnesses. We've put abundant evidence of these illnesses in front of the parole board, and they continue to insist that he is a danger to society, which would be laughable if it weren't so tragic. So we're here to acknowledge not only that Leonard is 80 years old, but that he is not with us. So we have a lot of cake. We have an abundance, maybe more cake than we actually might have needed. But the cake doesn't say anything. It doesn't say happy birthday, Leonard. It doesn't have any decorations. And our hope is that this time next year, we're gonna have cake that is decorated, that has Leonard's name on it, that says happy birthday, that he can be here with us to have cake with us, and that process will be completed. We will continue to pursue every lawful avenue to secure his release. I know that NDN Collective and Amnesty International both have campaigns to advocate and agitate for his clemency. And we certainly endorse that, and you know, whatever it takes, it's going to take all of us pushing at the thing from all sides to bring it down, right? So I'm going to cut some cake, and I'm going to ask Ann Lamb to come up. Thank you, everyone who's spoken. Ann, come up and tell us about some of the resources. There's some letter writing materials over here. And please come get cake.
Yes, please come get cake, because we have a plethora of cake. Anyway, very happy to be here today with Susie and Mo. And I would encourage anybody who has not seen the film Warrior, The Life of Leonard Peltier, to go and watch it. You can watch it right on YouTube. It's free. It's a tremendous, tremendous film. And it really gives you the whole history of the case and everything surrounding that that led to, you know, the whole incident at Oglala that led to where Leonard is today. So we do have, and we encourage everybody to take, we have a brochure from the ad hoc committee. This gives the whole history of everything surrounding the whole history of this case, which is very important, especially if you know younger folk who may not know who is Leonard. Please, I encourage you to take some. They're on the table over there on the side. Also work with the Jericho movement. Our job is to free all U.S. held political prisoners and prisoners of war. Leonard Peltier is a prisoner of war. So, you know, it is up to us to free him, and we are doing everything in our power to do so. We have some pens over there and some paper. If anybody would like to write some birthday greetings to Leonard or tell him a joke, he loves jokes, has a great sense of humor, but you must write in very large letters because Leonard is going blind, all right? In addition to, you know, Mo mentioned briefly, Leonard has diabetes, okay? Leonard has an abdominal aortic aneurysm, which could burst at any time, and he would instantly die, all right? Leonard has very bad arthritis. Leonard can no longer paint because he can no longer use his hands, and he can hardly see. He has to walk with a walker. He should probably have a wheelchair. I'm sure he's fallen a couple of times. You know, the situation is deplorable, deplorable. Somebody said earlier, you wouldn't treat, you know, an animal gets treated better than this. I think that was you, Dawn. And that's true. You know, our prisoners inside the walls, and that's not just Leonard, but that's everybody, you know, really, really suffer. If you haven't seen dentists for 10 years, you know, Leonard has not seen a dentist for 10 years, and he has to eat only like soft food because of the condition of the bad condition of his teeth. According to BOP regs, he's supposed to see a dentist every year. And, you know, don't even talk about all the other things that should be happening. And they are in constant lockdown all over the BOP. This is their latest thing. They're almost always on lockdown. So people don't get to take a shower. They don't get to eat anything but maybe a peanut butter sandwich or some such crap like that that they bring you in your cell. So, you know, the situation is really, really dire. It's really dire. So in addition to Amnesty International's campaign and everybody's campaign to, well, not to insult anybody, but to the doddering idiot in the White House, to see if he would possibly, you know, do the right thing, which nobody has seemed to have been able to do. You know, Clinton didn't do it, right? Obama didn't do it. We knew Trump wouldn't do it. So, you know, we won't hold our breaths, but we'll definitely try. We'll put the heat on them, put the heat on Garland, and put the heat on Biden. And in addition to that, I'm sure it's up on freeleonardpeltiernow.org. It's also up on jerichony.org. There is a campaign to contact the Senate Judiciary Committee, because the Senate Judiciary Committee is probably the only people besides the FBI who have any oversight of the BOP. And since at the parole hearing, even the parole commissioner said that Leonard should be in a medical facility at the very least, since they refused to release him, as was requested. So we have to put heat on those people too. You know, call them up, write them an email. All the information is right there. If you go to jerichony.org, it's right on the front page. Can't miss it. There's a whole big postcard thing of Leonard there. And do that too. And do everything you can in your own community, you know. Educate people, organize, show Susie's film, Warrior. It's available free on YouTube. And of course, Susie's also here in New York City. So I'm sure if you asked her to come and talk, she would be more than happy to do so. And that would be a great thing. So please, we are having cake. As you can see, it's being cut. And anybody who feels like it, please, you know, take the time to send some greetings to Leonard in large letters. But actually, this is very urgent. You know, it really is very urgent because his medical situation is really, really bad. So, you know, we do not want, I can say this as Jericho, we do not want another one of our brothers or sisters to die inside. We have lost too many people behind these walls. We have lost way too many people. I was talking with Mo earlier. I met Mo when she was Abdullah Majid's lawyer. And Abdullah Majid died like suddenly and totally unexpectedly right here in New York State in Elmira. God only knows what they did to him to cause that to happen. We do not know. But he's not the only one. We've lost a lot of people inside the walls. And I do not want, and I will not accept any more of that. Leonard's coming home, and we're going to make sure it happens, because we do have something that in this society we are taught to forget and think we don't have, which is the power of the people. And the people, the power of the people and the love of the people and the unity of the people in struggle can never be defeated by this enemy. Never, never. Free Leonard Peltier and free all political prisoners and free ourselves. And free Palestine.
Amen.
Thank you so much for that.
Can I?
There are more of us.
Dawn, just 1 second. Actually, it's just mostly for this room. As part of a fundraiser, I am selling posters of Warrior and DVDs of Warrior, if you would like. All proceeds will go to the Peltier. Yeah.
So a woman who was here earlier gave that little donation. So we have one already.
Excellent.
Excellent. I think this mic is off. Anyway, you're right. Thank you for calling out all those other places in the world, because everywhere this is happening. You know, in the Sudan, there are literally millions of people starving to death in the middle of a war where there is no humanitarian aid or food getting in. And they're in refugee camps and they're starving to death, just like we see in Gaza, where people are starving to death. There is no excuse for this horrible death machine that's called the United States of America. It should cease to exist.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I cannot figure
Thing
out.
I meant to say, we have with us our brother and comrade, Tariq Haskins, who is one of our former prisoners of war, Black Liberation Army, Black Panther Party, and he also did time with Leonard Peltier in several different prisons. And every time we do anything for Leonard, Tariq is always there because he loves Leonard. And I'm sure Leonard loves him too.
Tariq, were you going to say a few words?
Peace, family. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tariq. I am a Black Panther. I'm a former member of the Black Liberation Army. I spent 17 years in various American death camp prisons. And while in prison, I met Leonard. I met Leonard in Terry Hut. And Leonard was across the hall. And in the unit that I was in, all the other AIM movement persons were in my unit. And the situation was one of them having the troops in my unit and having the General Leonard across the hall. And when you talk to Leonard, he will remind you of Mumia Abu-Jamal. You know, Leonard is a very intelligent person, and when you first meet him, that's the impression that you get. He sounds like Mumia, as a matter of fact. Yeah. That's why the authorities really don't like Leonard. And I'm just writing Leonard to tell him, reminding him the last time I saw him was in a place called Springfield, Missouri. And I was going, the authorities, the prison guards were taking me to the dentist. And as I was walking down the hall, I heard someone call me, Tariq, and it was Leonard Peltier, and he was telling me the Russians were there to see him, and that they would be there for a week. And as many people might not know it, but 11 million Russians signed a petition to have Leonard freed. And I'll tell you this too, the night before I saw Leonard, the guards were outside of my cell about 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know Leonard was there, and they were saying that they hate the Russians, and this is America, and the hell with the Russians. So I'm saying, well, okay, I know that. I know you're fascists, you hate the Russians. Okay, I know that. But why are you doing this, you know? And they were saying the hell with the Russians. That went on about 10 or 15 minutes. So I was convinced that they hate the Russians. And that was then the next day while I was going through the hallway, that's when Leonard called me and told me that the Russians were there to see him. And they hate Leonard. One of the special reasons why they hate Leonard is because Leonard would like to take his indigenous brothers and sisters back to the time when the Sundance and the sweat lodges were common things. And the authorities have issued some kind of legal instrument saying that they should take the indigenous people from the reservation and put them in the cities. And I know what they would like to do. The indigenous people, they have a better chance while living in the reservations to arrive at thinking of themselves as intelligent, as courageous, as valuable human beings, as a human being, consider themselves as being the most valuable entity in the world as far as being a human being. And I know the authorities want to take all of that from them and put them in the cities where they can do to the indigenous people what they do to us. They are training us to think of ourselves as stupid. They're trying to provide us with a reason why each of us should hate ourselves, and then go on to commit suicide. That's what the authorities would like to do to the indigenous people. And while they are on the reservations, it's very unlikely that they would be able to accomplish that. So Leonard and the AIM persons, they want to keep the indigenous people on the reservation and to train them in the old ways, Matter of fact, and I should say, I knew the spiritual advisor for the AIM movement, Leonard Crodog. I knew Carter Camp. These are persons that someone was mentioned, the brother was mentioned, they have passed away. I knew many of them. I knew Standing Deer, the person who they was trying to contract to kill Leonard, and he refused to do that. So I want to say also, let me point out, happy birthday, Leonard. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you have made another journey around the sun. And I hope that we're going to work so that he will spend his other journeys around the sun with us. And we must do that. And so we are winning, as it was pointed out, we are winning. And the fact that you are here, I should say, I'm sure Leonard loves all of you for being here. And that's an indication that you are intelligent and you're studying what's going on in the world. I'm sure Leonard also loved you because you're courageous, and your presence from being here is indicative of you being courageous, knowing that all the weaponry that America has and how vicious they are. You see what they're doing in Palestine. And so for you to be here is an indication that you're very courageous people, and you should know that you are very courageous. And so Leonard loves you for that. I love you also for being here. And happy birthday, Leonard, and a happy birthday to Mumia Abu-Jamal. Thank you for having me to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody who chimed in from New York. Jennifer, do you have anything you would like to add?
I just wanted to thank everyone for being here in this moment, this critical moment and juncture, as we'll find out through the close of this year, how critical it is for Leonard at this time. I know the way that Leonard wanted to celebrate his birthday, strawberry cake and all. And of course, it hurts my heart that he is not here to enjoy the cake, nor has he been here to even speak to myself or to my co-counsel, because they routinely lock him down and make sure they do so on his birthday. So I push that aside, knowing how he would like to have it, and that you all are a part of that vision for him today. And so I ask for you to stay with us as we take this government to court, as we create a cauldron of legal and public pressure And so I thank you on behalf of Leonard. We are not defeated. That is one thing that I think of in close. All that this government, and although it is substantial, has been able to do is to keep Leonard Peltier incarcerated. They have not won, they have not silenced him, and they will not silence him. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here, and our alternative media is so important. There has been a whiteout. I mean, they were speaking of the UHURU trial not being covered. The lockdowns have been going on for 4 years. These men have been living to a cell that are smaller than regulation dog kennels. Think about that. Think about what they have been getting away with. I can't stop checking core links to see if Leonard's emailed. We have got to get him out of there now. A lone activist is a target. There are more of us than there are of them. If we all raise our voices, they will hear us. So thank you all for coming. Our attorneys generously work pro bono. Jennifer has not only put together a legal team, she's put together a medical team, which is probably the only reason Leonard still draws breath, as a doctor goes in there and physically keeps an eye on him. They know that Leonard has eyes on him. But, you know, there are travel expenses, there are lodging expenses. The paperwork itself has run into the thousands of dollars. So if you can afford to donate anything, you know, and the people that give are usually the people that can't afford to. So we appreciate the $5 donations. Every penny matters in this struggle and will carve a place in history. You know, we need to get this man out of there. I can't think of anything else except thank you for being here. Thank you for raising your voices. I have an adopted grandchild that interviewed me for a school project, 9 years old. The end of the interview, he raised his fist in the air and he says, "It's not okay for the FBI to break their own laws." I said, "Say it loud and say it often. We need an army of 9-year-olds. You know?
I love it.
Yeah. Say it loud and say it often. Thank you all for being here. I deeply appreciate each and every one of you. And Jennifer, you are just absolutely my superhero. Until the next time, keep an eye on our website. Again, SIBILLA DRISALDI is our official European partner. We will be moving forward with European initiatives. There are a lot of things in the works. We have a webinar coming up on October 15th. The liberation of Leonard Peltier, taking the court to court. We are done waiting for the parole commission to do the right thing. That, you know, they should not even exist. So thank you all for restoring my faith in the movement. I needed all of you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.